This episode is brought to you by our chic, luxurious, elegant, and wonderful, delightful even, patrons.
For as little as $1 a month or $1 billion a month if you want, you can get access to show notes, early access first plays, unedited episodes, and the famous Patreon pools.
If that sounds like a good deal to you, and it should, check us out at patreon.com/NGP podcast. And at whatever level you're comfortable, you can lend your wallet and support to us making retro gaming content for you.
Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name's Nolan.
And this is episode 391, and it is a producer poll!
Pool.
We've got a great episode for you, but you might have noticed already, we are missing one of our fallen compatriots.
Fallen angels. Yeah. Never to return.
In the eyes of an angel.
Kenny is missing in action.
Do we know where he is? Yes, we do know where he is.
Whoa, yeah, but I haven't spoken to him in weeks.
He's on a little vacation, and he's enjoying himself. He'll be back next week. He hates that he has to miss an episode. I'm just making that up. He probably does not care.
I don't know if that's true.
We are sad to not have him here with us.
Yes, it makes it harder to do an episode.
It's good that he only had to miss one, because if he had to do last week's, it would have been 2 episodes that he missed. But last week we had an incredible and a phenomenal, a stellar, first-class retro recap.
Yeah, I really love when we get to retro recaps because,
course.
1, I get a week off, which is lit. 2, I genuinely enjoy listening to those episodes a lot more than just listening to our own, because it's just different perspectives. And Shauna and Garlisle and Clint did a fantastic job taking people through the last 20 episodes.
Yeah.
Or so.
So if you haven't checked that out, go and listen to that. I always encourage people, like, if you haven't listened to New Game Plus or you don't know which episode to listen to a retro recap first, because it will give you a
100%.
brief overview, and then it can kind of direct you to episodes that you might be interested in. So Once again, thanks to Garlisle, Shauna, and Clint for investing in our community and making a great retro recap last week. Question of the week.
Ooh.
What are the best video games for people with limited free time? We are getting older, as everyone is. We're all
really
aging at the same rate. It doesn't bother me at all because it's happening to all of us.
I know, but I didn't think about it much until it started happening.
Right.
And it really scares me.
Yeah. But you're not, I mean, there are many in our community that, since the start of the show, have gotten married and have started to build families of their own. And so they've got limited time with gaming nowadays. So we want to help them out. What are some games that are easy to, like, grab, play a session, put back down?
The first one that comes to mind is one that is, it's not a new genre, but it's a very popular genre, especially on the indie scene, and that's like a roguelite game. Yeah. I think those are really good for people that don't have a lot of time. And the first one I would say is Binding of Isaac. And it's more so like single session kind of game than the others in the category, because it's very fast paced. Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be, but like you can easily start one up, get a few rooms in, have to put it down, just put it to sleep or save and exit and come back to it and start it back. And every time you sit down, you'll get a fresh experience because it'll feel like, I mean, it's a different run. So over like a story game and like maybe even a platformer, I think progression on a roguelite is just more enjoyable if you only have small sessions.
Is Celeste a roguelite?
No.
Okay. Well,
it's a platformer that has a story, like a linear story. It has like, you can take different maybe kind of paths. I would more liken it to a Metroidvania than a
Really? Have you
game.
played Celeste?
Yes.
Okay. Because I had wondered, because I had seen that come up on lists of quick play games.
I get that too, though.
A rogue-like that I would suggest would be Hades. I think that is
Sure.
a good one to get good sessions in. The fun thing nowadays is that also I could just recommend anything on the Switch, because it's something that you mentioned. You can put that thing to sleep and pick it up. So no matter if it's a story game or anything like that, you can do 5-minute sessions, 10-minute sessions, and then you can come back to it later.
Same with the Steam Deck. Like when you asked the question, I was like, honestly, in 2023, any
so
game?
Nice. So nice.
The fact that it doesn't matter if it has a nice save point, a frequent save point, it doesn't matter anymore. The game, when you turn your console back on, boots right back. It's like a save state. It's awesome.
Yeah. If Kenny was here, he would have said Slay the Spider. Am I wrong?
He would have said Hades. He would have mentioned Hades. He would have 3 answers. Hades, Slay the Spire, and I don't know what else he would have said.
Can you do those Civ games? Because
sure.
you play those over a long period of time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can stop that whenever, like after one turn.
What are the best video games for people with limited free time? Hop in our latest episode discussion channel in Discord. There's a thread there called Question of the Week, where you can share your opinions on the best games to pick up, and try in short bursts. Like in our retro game of the week, Pikmin.
Overview.
Pikmin is a 2001 game for your favorite console, or one of them, the GameCube.
One of them, yes.
Developed and published by Nintendo. I intentionally kept out the genre in that description because if you look on the Wikipedia page, it will describe it as a real-time strategy, an RTS game, which it is certainly not.
It's the same thing with y'all giving me a hard time about, say, an action RPG for Fencer, Musashi. Well, ARPGs for Diablo games. But, like, yes, it's an action, and yes, it's an RPG. I kind of allow it. I put in my notes.
Whoa.
Like, real-time strategy and puzzle is a unique combo. And it's a real shame that Kenny was not here for this, because I feel like those are two of his main genres.
Yeah, but
you're saying it's not RTS. I mean...
This is not Kenny's genre.
The fact that you're kind of racing against the clock does make it real-time strategy.
Okay, I'll say this. If action RPG and ARPG are two different genres that have some relationships but are different,
then RTS is...
And real-time strategy, I'll do the same there. Because this is not an RTS game. If you think RTS, this is nothing like that. You'll get the totally wrong picture.
It's not StarCraft.
Right.
No, but there's...
What this is a puzzle herding game. Have you heard of Hurdy-Gurdy?
It's not a herding game. I have, and I hate that game. And so I know that's not what this is.
It is. Yes. It blew my mind at the start of... By the way, we had 2 weeks to play this game because...
It's a farming sim.
Was it... No, it's not a farming sim, but it is a herding sim like Hurdy-Gurdy, and there are massive correlations here that it baffled me at the start of this 2 weeks that no one had ever referenced Pikmin when Hurdy-Gurdy came up on the show.
Then maybe you're the only one that thinks that.
Now that I'm saying it, there's going to be tens of thousands that flock to our community to agree with me.
The sheep.
But regardless of what genre you classify this game as, it is unique. It's different. It's unlike your platformer. It's unlike your Metroidvania. It's unlike your puzzle and unlike your RTS games, but it's got some similar characteristics of a lot of those.
And what's funny is that this is nice timing because Pikmin 4 just released and is doing well, but it's really funny to me because... Like, first of all, is GameCube my favorite? I've never played Pikmin. And I know that's a huge deal because this is the GameCube game, like outside of the Nintendo IPs that you would expect, right?
But out of all Nintendo IPs, this is one that is slept on. or that was
so.
forgotten over the years. It hasn't gotten as much love. It had been over a decade between 3 and 4.
Yes, but the fact that this game has sequels is really funny. Like I played it, it feels like one of those standalone type of games.
Yeah.
Think Doshin the Giant, also on GameCube, also really quirky. It kind of fits in that category for me of like, this didn't need a sequel, but I guess it did because people love 4. They're loving it.
And it wasn't an accident that Pikmin came around in the era and weeks of the release of Pikmin 4.
Course.
It was a producer poll. It was submitted by multiple individuals: Garlisle, Turtle, Levi, Shauna, Brojim, Not Enough Dog, and J. Robert.
Team effort.
Yeah, team effort. It swept the submissions for the Hot Tub After Party. So this is actually the final and firm conclusion to the greatest summer pool party that we've ever had.
Yeah, I was gonna say that if you weren't. I really do think we had some crazy good games. And only like one bad one, maybe 2.
I think there was one of the in-betweens, still part of the summer pool party, but every single one that was pulled from a pool party submission from our patrons was wonderful, was great. Yeah. And so this game, for those of you that do not know, is all about Captain Olimar. He is, by the way, is he in Smash?
Some will know Olimar from Super Smash Bros. Brawl and after.
Yeah. And
I was like, who the heck is Olimar?
That's where I recognized him from, because I also hadn't played Pikmin. And speaking for Kenny, he hadn't either. So Kenny, Nolan, and Dustin, none of us have had played this game.
Olimar and the Pikmin beat Sora to the cast. Like, they put Olimar in before so many other characters.
Wait, is Sora in it now?
I don't know.
Okay.
Probably not.
While on an intergalactic vacation, Captain Olimar's spaceship, the SS Dolphin, which, by the way, it blew my mind this week. Nolan, I think that's what the emulator is named after.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know. It would make sense.
I didn't know. Do you understand? Because in this game, you're finding the pieces of the dolphin to put together. That's kind of what that's my guess. And I love that.
I'll buy that.
Case.
Because, like I said, this is the staple GameCube game.
Right.
Like, people associate the two very heavily.
Yeah. I loved that. But his spaceship is hit by an asteroid, subsequently crashes on an uncharted planet, and Olimar has 30 days of life support where he must go to different regions and find the scattered pieces of his ship with the help of a nearly extinct alien species that Olimar discovers and decides to call Pikmin.
It's also it's a survival horror as well on top of all that other stuff. I mean, there's
and a Metroidvania.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go past certain areas without first collecting and upgrading. Amen.
Gameplay.
What I really like about this game is that from the get-go, when you start playing it, it's you already said it in overview, but it's unlike any game that I can compare it to, really. And I guess it really comes down to the control scheme and the setup of what you're looking at, and the real-time strategy aspect of it, separate from RTS. I do get the label because it gives you a kind of, like, you are Olimar and you're commanding things like you would an army, and the Pikmin can become your army. But also just kind of the look of the game being, it can be top down. It has a lot of different camera options, but I don't love, or I didn't at first, I'm fine with it now. You control Olimar in a third-person camera, but you're also at the same time controlling a circle, like a action circle, and it's really, really foreign. And that's why I was like, "What is this game?" And I watched you first play, and you did the exact same thing. You were like, "What what am I controlling here?" It quickly becomes natural to use, but I don't know. It's just a really interesting first play when you boot up the game.
Yeah, it's super weird. Thankfully, playing other quirky not N64 but Nintendo titles in and around this era, and others. You mentioned Doshin. I also think of the name is lapsing from my memory right now, but the guy that pushes around trash and you pick up stuff all over the place and it gets bigger and bigger.
Katamari?
Katamari Damacy.
Yeah.
That's another kind of quirky thing that has some similarities to other genres, but is different.
Yeah.
So it was different at first, but like you said, I quickly caught on to kind of what was going on. It's not complex. It's relatively simplistic. There is a low level of like comprehension here, but since it is different and foreign, it takes a few minutes to figure it out. And what you figure out is that you are Olimar. That is who you are. And you are maneuvering around in this open environment, and you are collecting and harvesting these Pikmin and then you are using them to complete tasks in order to retrieve ship parts. And you're rinsing and repeating and doing that every single day. You've got about, and you're on a day timer. So you've got about 15 or so minutes.
13 minutes, I think, is like the actual
13.
Measurement of a day.
Okay. Yeah, my guess was 15, so not far off, but 13 real-time minutes to get through a day that Olimar is experiencing, where you are rinsing and repeating, sprouting Pikmin and using them to complete tasks to get those ship parts. The only problem is, in between are obstacles, whether it's environmental hazards or you've got these bugs or big boss creatures that stand in the way of you retrieving all parts. And you're supposed to, over the course of 30 days, try to retrieve all 30 ship parts so that you can get back home to your family.
And the obstacles is where the puzzles come in, and the other part of the category of this game, and where I think the game shines. I mean, that's the core of what you're doing is solving obstacles and puzzles of how to get your Pikmin where they need to be to get the object that you need to sprout more or to open up a path. And what's really great about this are the different types of Pikmin. So you've got red Pikmin, you've got blue Pikmin, and you've got yellow Pikmin. And I mentioned Olimar and Brawl because I played him. Obviously, I played every character in that game, but his moveset in that game couldn't have prepared me for this game. It makes no sense.
Oh, really?
Well, the fire...
Does he get Pikmin? Does he use
He picks them out of the ground.
That's so
He's
good.
an interesting character. You start with none, and you have to farm them by picking them out of the ground, and it's random what color comes up, and so you have to use what's given you. Also, there are white Pikmin.
Hey, spoilers.
Is that in 2, maybe?
I would assume so.
Well, fire in Brawl correlates with this game. They're resistant to, their fire damage in Brawl. I should stop talking about Brawl. The red Pikmin in this game are resistant to fire, and probably the ones that I use the most, honestly.
Just the ones you start with.
The ones you start with, and I was used to it already.
And whatever you harvest in one level in one day carries over as long as they're still living to the next day. And so starting with red, you'll probably have the largest red population unless you have a total party wipe.
Unless you have a disaster take place, which can happen.
Can happen.
And I love that it can happen.
Not only are the red ones flame resistant, but they're also the strongest in combat.
Yes, that is also in Brawl.
Quit! Hey, you stop talking about Brawl.
Blue Pikmin are the only ones that can navigate in water.
They got gills.
And do they?
That's what I mean, lore-wise, that's what it says. I don't know about Brawl.
I don't know about Brawl either on that one. I don't know about gills. And then yellow Pikmin are the ones that can be thrown higher than the other Pikmin, and they can carry the bombs, which the puzzles for that are probably my favorite whenever those come into play. But managing those three is the genius of this game, and the fact that, like I just said, something bad can happen if you don't plan right, and that's where I found the most enjoyment in this game because I thought it would be very straightforward when I first started playing, and maybe somebody would say it is, but I kind of think it's pretty dynamic. Like everybody's run can vary.
I think everybody's run will vary because you can go in so many different orders. Day one is pretty locked in, like you have to. It's pretty much tutorial, but after that you can do a variety of things, and like I said, you have 30 days to complete this. You can complete this in a lot less. You can forego there are maybe 4, 5, 6 items that are not like even mandatory.
Yeah, I think 25 will beat the game for
okay.
you. 30 is completionist.
30 is completionist, 25 will beat the game. Less than that, you can still get to the end of the 30 days, but you've got a different kind of ending. Yeah, your ship
this game
doesn't fully make it.
It looks all nice, but
one of the things that is most remarkable to me and that I like most is that from day to day, the map remains mostly the same, meaning the work you did yesterday will still be in effect today. And I think that is what's so creative here. If you've found a ship part and brought it halfway to your ship but weren't able to get it there by nightfall, that ship part will still be right there.
Right.
The bugs you killed will still be dead. Even certain, I love this, certain of your Pikmin that died in the course of battle over the course of a day or two will have sprouted, so you can maybe get a flower from there, which can get you more Pikmin later. So like everything that you're doing matters.
And dude, I was reading about just the series as a whole just before we started recording. The third genre that is listed for the series is roguelite. And in this game, I wouldn't really say that, but what you're saying about the persistence of a run is where I think that comes from, and I'm curious how the rest of the series maybe explores that and where that tag gets added on. But no, that is my favorite part of the game by far, is the persistence of your actions and how it plays out. And I have to go back to the RTS thing and be Kenny while Kenny is not here. It kind of totally is, because you must farm Pikmin. And it's similar to in an RTS where you send out a team or a scouting thing to go get a resource and bring it back to the base to get more of that resource or to build your army up. And so I felt that. It just didn't look like a StarCraft in its presentation. That's why I think it's kind of brilliant the way that they incorporated the strategy element here, but puzzles are my favorite part.
And the puzzles are, I think, placed really well, and certain regions are not even unlocked until you've gotten a certain amount of parts. There's harder puzzles in the later regions of the game.
Are there 5
regions
zones?
or areas, zones?
Yeah.
Something like that. There's not many, but you're returning to these regions and kind of unlocking new areas as you as you unlock the Pikmin. For the first few days, you only have the red Pikmin, and then I think you find the yellow Pikmin, and then you find the blue Pikmin, or at least that was my journey, and you use them in tandem with one another. The crazy thing is you can have 100 Pikmin out on the screen with you at any given time, or out in your world, which is many more creatures than any other game had up until this date. They're relatively low poly, they're small, they're not doing much, but 101, including
animated.
Olimar. Right.
I thought I would experience like slowdown or something.
Yeah. No, and it was pretty impressive and kept up with it. And you can have any mixture within that 100 of red, yellow, and blue, and you're using them to solve certain puzzles. There's walls in the way. Some of them can only be blown up by the bombs that the yellow Pikmin can use. You've got water that you need to get across that only blues can get across, but once they get across with an item, you can partner up with any other color combination to be able to bring back the items faster to the ship. You've got enemies that you want to throw a lot of your red on a lot of the time because, like I said, they do more damage with one another, and you're constantly having to work between, hey, these Pikmin are dying on the field, so I'm raising up these Pikmin. I'm on a time crunch, so I'm sending this group of Pikmin to do this task while I'm taking this group to do another, because you can throw them to a wall or something and then leave them, and they'll keep working on that wall until it's complete. So you're multitasking and micromanaging, kind of like an RTS.
Yeah, see, you're seeing the truth. Yeah. There are also onions, or what Olimar has named onions on this planet, where it's essentially a Pikmin bank, and you can store the color Pikmin with the corresponding onion, and that comes into play too as you progress. Like, you kind of, or at least what I was doing is, it's very situational wherever you find yourself on each stage in terms of what colors you need. But oftentimes I was finding myself just needing any. And like you said, red is great for combat. And dude, what are those things called? The enemies that...
There's a lot of them.
Well,
bugs?
The bug one that's on the cover of the game.
Ladybugs. I don't know what they're called. Bug snacks. That's a different
mess
thing.
You up, dude. Because you'll be in a groove and then... it's just done.
You're talking about the big fat ones, like the ones that can eat your characters? Oh, yeah. They're rough.
But it's good. It adds needed challenge to the game, because I thought the puzzles were fairly straightforward. I didn't beat the game. I bet you did. I bet you did. That's my prediction. But I thought that the puzzles were easy enough, and so the game needed to add something in addition to that to kind of balance out the simplicity of that, and I thought it was a healthy balance. Like, it wasn't overwhelming, but it definitely was something the enemies were something you had to deal with, or else. Like,
yeah, I thought there were one or two, not enemies, but bosses that were a little bit unreasonable. The last boss being one of them, and maybe I just couldn't figure out the strategy. But you
didn't have enough Pikmin?
No, I had enough because I had managed well throughout the rest of the game. But by the time I got to the last boss, he decimated, I don't know, probably half of the Pikmin that I had saved up at that time. And then there's this one boss that is like these multiple heads of like these birds, egrets or whatever, that pop out of the ground, and that's rough to deal with as well. However, all of them can be dealt with, and just they need a strategy. You can't just always toss all of your Pikmin into the mess, because your Pikmin are dumb. Let's talk about that. Your Pikmin are dumb, and I'm not trying to be
racist.
Racist towards Pikmin, or I love the little guys, but they need your guidance and they need your direction. And even when they have it, they're probably they have a mind of their own or no mind, and they're going to end up killing themselves.
Okay. I think they're dumb from the beginning. I think in the tutorial stage, I had so much trouble wrangling them, and thankfully you get your B button, but it doesn't prevent them from doing what you don't expect, because I mentioned that target thing that's following you around earlier. What that is where your Pikmin are going to land when you throw them, essentially. And so you can be as accurate as you want with that. Sometimes they don't do what you want them to do.
I didn't throw
it's not
as
game
much.
breaking. It's not game breaking, I don't think, but it's certainly frustrating.
I didn't throw as much as I used my C stick. So I really like that function where Olimar kind of whistles a little bit, and whatever, I almost said Pokemon, whatever Pikmin you have around you, I love the idea, because the C stick is just like any other stick, and so the direction you pull it or push it, that's where, in relation to Olimar, your group of Pikmin line up, or so I would get close to a wall and then hold up on the C stick, and they would like push up against the wall and start trying to tear it down. So I used that primarily.
I expected the C stick to be the camera controls, which generally was the case on any kind of like 3D game any game where you have like control of a character on the GameCube. But I actually thought camera control and just overall controller use was spot on with this game. I get so frustrated with some of the developers that made GameCube games where like the D-pad's used and it's the world's worst D-pad, like just ignore it. Or like this, they use the C-stick in the dumbest way possible. Here, great camera like rotation that you can do. The overhead cam, super useful, and being able to zoom out like in an RTS on the map was huge. And like especially when you get to a new zone and you have to like learn the area. They did a really good job with that. And it helped with combat.
It's not a surprise here that I don't historically love the GameCube controller. I think that it is a mess, but I think that this game did really well. I totally agree here. I even think a recent comparison, we played Soul Calibur 2. I really enjoyed the game. I don't like the native control setup for that. I think it's weird and all over the place and doesn't make sense to me. This game did really well with the controller, and it made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, felt great.
Yeah,
and I think where people and myself get mad at you about that is that the controller is extremely comfortable. It's just that some games ended up utilizing it just wrong, objectively wrong.
Sure,
but here, this just represents the GameCube in a really special way, even down to the control scheme.
So we had 2 weeks to do it. I didn't need it because within the first week I completed Pikmin.
All 30 parts.
So I was able to get all 30 parts in 19 days.
Wow.
I used somewhat of a guide. Hold on, before you judge me. I just used a guide that was like, hey, on day 1, try to get these parts. On day 2, try to get these parts. On day 3, try to get these parts. That's it. And then I used a map, but so that I knew where the parts were generally, but not how to get them. Or what. That being said, you end up getting pieces later that or things later that give you a map in game as well. Yeah. So like, so I did use something, but 30 parts, 19 days, 338 surviving Pikmin, 487 lost. Yeah,
that stat that they tell you at the end, I don't want to know that. Actually, that's something like I'd beat it and be like, man, my fallen heroes.
It's funny because I think in my first play I hadn't lost any Pikmin yet, and I made the comment about like, hey, it's so great they're giving you these little guys. I really hope they don't create ways for them to die, not knowing that that's the name of the game.
It's a slaughter.
Oh.
It is a slaughter. The game's about death. I mean, if you don't get your parts, Olimar dies of oxygen poisoning. Your Pikmin certainly die constantly.
Yeah.
It's not all flowers.
Right. We're all worried about saving one guy, Olimar, while thousands of Pikmin are dying to get him off planet.
Yeah, what did you say in your first play? You were reading the tutorial. You were reading Olimar's description of the planet, and you're like, "Oh, I'm going to call these." And you go, "Is this genocide?"
No, is it like colonization and genocide?
Like, is this colonization?
But you just as long as you can turn your brain off to that a little bit,
they're happy to help.
Yeah,
they are.
Isn't that what all colonists say? Colonizers say.
Aged.
Let's immediately talk about replayability here. I think that is something that this game does really well. Giving you I don't like, generally speaking, timelines and like where I have a limited amount of time to accomplish something. However, I think that it is implemented exceptionally well here in this game, and you're given tons of grace. 30 days, that means if you just get one piece a day, then you'll be fine. And that's kind of unreasonable because you'll be able to easily get 2 or 3 pieces on certain days. And so even if you do bad on one day, lose a lot of Pikmin, and then on the next day you just need to build that Pikmin, your catalog of Pikmin up, then the next day you'll be able to get 2 pieces or whatever. I think that's very generous, so where you don't have to feel as rushed, so you can always come back to and try to get a better score.
Yeah, and replaying the game, I didn't think much about it until in Discord I saw, especially Garlisle, because there's a lot of people play this week. Garlisle played through it a few times, and each time had a certain challenge in mind, like a self-imposed challenge. But even without the self-imposed challenge, I think what you're saying is right. The time limit never felt imposing, but it is it keeps the pace of the game. I just did the math because I was curious. 13 minutes, 30 days divided by 60 for 60 minutes is 6.5 hours. How long did it take you to beat it? Do you know?
No, and I did restart a day or two because it was just going horribly. So that offsets the time. I don't know the total amount of time, but it's not super long.
No, it's way shorter actually than I thought it was going to be, and I think the designers of the game meant for it to be replayed heavily because of that, and I think that's why it's not super long. And again, I'm so curious to see what 2 and 3 and even 4 do in that realm of replayability.
And not only do you have the natural challenge to try to get all the parts in less days, you have the replayability. You have a challenge mode that unlocks after you get all of the Pikmin, and so it's just a challenge mode per region where you try to see how many Pikmin you can grow in a day. I think is what the challenge is.
Yeah, that's the challenge, and you can go to any of the zones. I think.
With it. Yeah. So you just have many different reasons to want to come back to the game, which is good. You mentioned that there are, we've mentioned multiple times, that there are other Pikmin games. So the series continues. There's Pikmin 2, there's Pikmin 3, and then just released this year, Pikmin 4.
Mm-hmm. I think there's also some side games that I'm not sure how those landed, but...
I know one side game.
What?
Brawl.
Yeah. There's another character... besides Olimar.
Spoilers!
It's not a spoiler. It's not in this game. You've beat the game. I don't know. It's not his wife. It's some dude named Alan or something. I don't know.
Well, now I'm not going to be shocked when I find Alan in Pikmin 2 or something.
I don't know.
This is a deep story that I didn't want spoilers for.
Speaking of that, did you think that they were inspired at all by Toe Jam and Earl? Because that's the goal in Toe Jam and Earl, is to get your ship parts to build it back to leave, isn't it?
I remember is 2 rapping aliens.
Also a very quirky game.
Yeah, also a very quirky game. I hadn't thought of it this week, but that is an interesting comparison.
I don't know.
Another aged factor, graphics. Let's see. I'm finding that GameCube graphics tend to age fairly well.
Yeah, they do.
You thought I was doing something else.
I did. I was worried.
I think on any kind of game, and I find this in a lot of retro games, when you have this kind of quirk factor to it, or this when you're not going for ultra realism, it also helps it to age all the better.
Yeah, 100%. Take Resident Evil 4, for example. I still think the game looks good on GameCube, but they did go for realism, right? It's crazy. There's insane things that happen in that game, but this ages better graphically than that because of what you just said, because it's cartoony.
And it's an alien world, so what you're looking at is
made up.
New and made up anyways. And so I thought it was good. With that, I thought each different environment was different enough to make it special.
Yeah, is there a fiery one, like volcano? I would love that. I didn't get to the final 2.
There's an area of one that is volcano-y like.
I might have seen that.
That has spouts of fire that's bursting up from the ground, but not one. And that is one thing. I wonder if they could have, and this is fairly stereotypical with game design, but they could have maybe leaned a little bit more on here's kind of your water level and here's your fire level. And maybe they did, just not as heavy-handed as some games do.
I would have enjoyed that a little more, because I kind of disagree with you in that every zone feels unique enough from the last. Maybe in some regards because of a new challenge or a new enemy or obstacle that they add. But in terms of environment, I really wanted a little more variety. But it's nothing to really hold against the game, because the focus, I think, is not in... Well, I don't know. It would have been really cool if they had environmental hazards for specific themes, but I don't know. Okay.
I think I changed my mind. I agree with you a little bit.
It's kind of like dirt and grass everywhere, and you're just like, eh.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they tiptoed into it a little bit. There is an area that has a lot more water after you get the balloon that you have to use, but it's not a water level. There is one that has a lot more fire in it, but it's not a fire level. And I think it's because I think in part because they didn't want you to just rely on one color of Pikmin. They wanted you to use a variety of them, a mixture of them.
Yeah.
So,
and also it's very obvious that they cared more about the backdrop being kind of standard or maybe bland even, and the characters and the Pikmin and the enemies popping and being kind of the highlight in terms of the art. And they all look really good and colorful.
And I will say on the RTSs that I have experience with, it isn't always about the environments or the areas. The focus is more on on your pieces and your structures and things like that. So, what about musically? Did you like the songs?
Yeah, they're on theme with it, with the quirkiness of it. But I'm not gonna go listen to the soundtrack. I don't know if I'm gonna offend somebody by saying that. I think it's there and works, but I don't know.
I did.
You went and listened to it?
Yeah, I did. Because I think they're good, and they needed to be good because you've got a different song theme for each individual region, and so you're going to be hearing it over and over again. So it needs to be good, or it's going to get redundant and boring. And some RTSs, they focus less on sound, and maybe it's more just like ambient, right? Or
it's,
like
it's like the noises your units are making and like machinery and
And Pikmin do make noises, but they have actual tracks for these stages, and I think for the most part they are good, enjoyable, and they've got this kind of like space vibe, that is going for. So it all feels cohesive, and I feel like all the tracks are done well. Did you know that there was an HD remaster of Pikmin on Switch just this past June?
Whoa. Oh. Yeah, and they also announced maybe all of them coming to the Switch at that Nintendo Direct or something. I might be making that up.
That doesn't sound wrong.
I kind of want to play that. I mean,
I don't know if there's much difference.
I don't think it needs an HD. I honestly think most GameCube games are great as the original, but I'm interested to see what they did tweak on that. But that's cool.
I don't think they tweaked much. I think pretty much it's the same from just what I heard other people talk about, other than the graphics, of course. But again, you're not playing this game for the you're not playing RTSs for the graphics. It's a nice thing to have. Nice,
and there's not a lot to like. And there's not a quality of life stuff that they needed to fix, and that's usually the best thing about a remake is that they can modernize things. But again, we've already praised it for being pretty controllable, and there's not a lot of issues in that regard.
Right. If you do want a copy of this original GameCube Pikmin, it's $42 used or loose. It's $170 new.
Ooh. Okay, that's still doable.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other, typically. However, when it's just two of us, which is very rare, it requires 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, Kenny's opinion after the fact won't matter at all.
So it really matters here where we're going to land. Nolan, you first.
Okay, Pikmin, like I said, I never played it before, and that's not great because I love GameCube, and this game was really popular. It's obviously kind of niche, but it was popular when it came out. And I don't know, there was something about maybe it was the box art or just something, the vibe of the game just didn't click with me. I was more interested in playing the Mario games on GameCube, the Zelda games, and so I just missed it. Which made for a really interesting revisit or playing it this week. It was not what I expected. I don't know what I expected. Probably nothing. but it was definitely more puzzle oriented than I thought it was going to be, and I love puzzle stuff. I love games like that. And unlike other quirky games like that we've even mentioned, like Doshin and some of the other ones, yeah, it's quirky, but it's also very easy to understand and start playing. And I think it's great. I get the love and the hype around it. I probably don't love it as much as like Garlisle and those who really vibe with it. But I mean, there's no way I'm not giving this New Game Plus because I had a lot of fun with it. I want to play the fourth one. I don't want to play 2 and 3. It sounds like too much of a chore to play those, but this first one ages insanely well. That was the thing that stood out to me, is that graphically, musically, just gameplay wise, this game ages beautifully. And I think anyone and everyone should play it, especially if you're a GameCube fan. So, New Game Plus from me.
I was sad to discover that the Pikmin that you are farming and raising and loving and training and feeding are also going to brutally lose their lives in a variety of ways. Their planet is not safe. And so maybe you need to get them off and bring them to a safer environment so that they can live and thrive. Let's just keep that image in our head.
Okay.
I obviously loved my time with the game these past 2 weeks. I beat it in the first week and then just was able to return to it and kind of just enjoy and play around and experiment in the second week. It's a fun challenge. It's a fun series of puzzles. I thought it was done exceptionally well. I never felt like, my problem with these types of games, if there is a type, is I always want to complete it. And to complete it, you've got to do things so perfectly so that you're able to do that. With this game, you don't. You can, like I said, I took 19 days to get the 30 parts. I was with a little bit of a guide. I think without that, I still would have, within 30 days, would have been able to get all 30 parts. So you can still complete it by playing somewhat casually, yet still efficiently. I think it ages really well. I'm glad that it spawned a series, but I wish that it would have even been given more love, like other Nintendo IPs over time, because it is a lot of fun. Those Pikmin are very cute. I think the biggest deterrent here is, with the first one, is AI. They're really dumb, so they're going to work against you throughout the time, but I also find where that's some of the charm. They're dumb little lovable aliens, and it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun every time I came to it within these past couple of weeks, and I definitely give it my vote for New Game Plus status, which means that Pikmin, the first, is New Game Plus certified.
And we live another day.
Yeah, our producers do not kill us, but they do kill the Pikmin. On YouTube, 58% said, yes, it's worth playing today. 6% said, no, go play something else. But a surprising 35% have never played the game before.
I don't know what happened. I'm the 35%, and that is more than I thought. I'm the
35%. Or
That's
it was.
Way more than I thought. But I owned a GameCube. I have no excuse.
Pikmin just fell under for some reason. There's got to be a reason there. Someone get to the bottom of it.
All the other games are so good on the GameCube.
So is Pikmin.
So is Pikmin, but it just got thrown in the back burner.
There was a lot of commentary for this game, maybe record, I don't know. Many first-time writers, but I have to give precedence to the producers and the directors who submitted this game, the specific ones that submitted it, and there's actually a lot of them. So I grabbed just a few comments from each of them so that we can go through all of them very quickly. Shauna said, I'm so happy we got the chance to play Pikmin together, especially for a summer pool hot tub after party, and for 2 weeks. I've been entering Pikmin into the pool for a while now because this game and I have unfinished business. I feel like I never gave Pikmin the time it deserved. I'm sure there will be folks who don't vibe with Pikmin, but it's really versatile game and can appeal to a lot of folks. There's strategies there's strategy, puzzle, and adventure, all while being a little cozy. There also isn't a huge learning curve to master, and I find it fun to binge play or just pick up and put down. I genuinely enjoyed returning to Pikmin. I hope that all of you did too. May the randomizer continue to smile upon us all.
Maybe Pikmin's a good answer to the question of the week too.
A pick up and put down?
No. Yeah.
Maybe it's not a bad answer. Turtle said, this game is a masterclass in smart game design. Everything from the 30-day time limit, strict enough that you actually have to make an effort to beat the game within the time limit, but not so strict that you can actually beat it. The constant progression and the way this game encourages you to explore and learn not just the environment of the planet, but also the enemy's strengths and weaknesses to most effectively fulfill your goals honestly puts this game in a league of its own. Now, this game is far from flawless with the graphics, camera, and charming but frustrating AI. Despite all that, I have to say this is a fantastic game. No doubt in my mind that it is NGP certified. Blue rules.
Blue rules. That's interesting. I think red rules.
I think red rules.
Red's best.
But I
Everyone
think you
yellow.
think red rules because you play day one and day one only.
No.
I love red. I use them a lot to swarm enemies. Can't beat them. Bro Jim said, I discovered Pikmin when 3 released. I fell in love with the little guys, so I anticipated enjoying a return to the roots. The modern Pikmin did almost nothing to prepare me for the slaughter I was about to witness. Pikmin 1 will frog butt stomp every one of your little blueberries into a fine azure paste at a moment's notice. Okay. A full wipe was not unheard of, forcing a day reset a couple of times. So what can I say about my time with Pikmin? I loved learning to do more with less. Did I miss the quality of life stuff? Yeah, but I had such a sense of accomplishment when I finally beat one. Having to actually vary my tactics with enemies rather than charge to win was great. I love the replay value the game design offers. I might actually consider this my favorite in the series so far. NGP all the way.
That's also really interesting. Like 2 and 3 surely introduced new mechanics, but I don't know what.
New Pikmin, you already said white. Oh, co-op.
And I think that's where that other character comes in. My guess, I don't know.
Alan.
It's not. I don't think it's his name. Maybe it is.
Olimar
Maybe my
and
memory
Alan?
is just good.
Not Enough Dog said, I didn't get as much time with Pikmin as I'd hoped this week, but I loved the game as a kid, and it really does hold up. There's nothing quite like it that feels like a little colony of ants stealing from humans, other than Sim Ant, I guess. But this is much better in GP.
Ants is a really good analogy here, but I wonder what Kenny thinks of this game. I really wish he would have played it.
Well,
I feel like he wouldn't have liked it.
No.
You don't think so either?
He would have gotten so frustrated.
But like I said, RTS and puzzle.
It's not the same.
But it's... I really...
He would have hated it.
Sucks that he didn't get to play it.
Garlisle said, it's tough to slim down my thoughts on Pikmin. This dumb baby management puzzle is sometimes frustrating, especially until you find tricks to herd these idiots semi-reliably. And even then, they'll run themselves off a cliff and all you can do is stare inside. But that's also part of what makes this game so fun. It's at its core, a replayable puzzle that isn't fully static, one that can be solved with increasing efficiency, but with each saved day demanding exponentially higher planning and skill. For years, 9 days was considered the limit. I'm proud to say that without a guide this week, I achieved it.
Oh. That's like
anyway, Blue Pikmin, best Pikmin. Breadbug is a friend. Can't wait for Pikmin 5 in another decade.
So between 3 and 4 it was like literally 10 years.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's super long.
That sucks for fans.
There's another blue lover while we're staying with red. Did you understand that Garlisle retrieved all 30 ship pieces in 9 days?
Yeah, that's really impressive.
10 days off of my...
You just have to like know the strat and do
expert
it flawlessly.
Expert planning. And restarting some days.
Interesting. Good job, girl.
And then finally, Levi. All of these people submitted to the game. Boy, I absolutely ate Pikmin up, pun intended. When I put this on my own summer to-do list, I didn't really expect it to get picked. When it was, I knew my family was in for a treat. We gathered around the TV most nights and took turns trying to make our way through the days, learning the layout and trying to avoid enemies to be a savior for all Pikmin kind. This is the perfect game for replayability. Each day you survive, you learn strengths and weaknesses and how to delegate different tasks simultaneously and what routes to take to get the most out of your time on the ground. What a joy to spend 2 weeks with this game. I will return to it often. NGP all day and red picks rule.
Or another redder. It does require patience, the game. Like, more so than most games. And I think a lot of people will bounce off of it because of that.
Well, don't most RTSs require a good amount of patience?
I thought this wasn't on RTS.
Well, I don't think it is.
We don't know what we're talking about.
We are setting aside Pikmin. We need Kenny here. He always knows what he's talking about. Setting aside Pikmin. Y'all can all go back to Pikmin 4 now. And we are, for the first time in a long time, since the beginning of summer, going to our retro master list. And from that master list, we are randomizing what is assuredly a terrible, terrible game.
We're due for one. It's going to be pretty bad. I know it.
Randomizing now. Nolan?
Dustin?
I don't know whether or not this is going to be good because I've never heard of the game before.
Terrible start.
But because I only know of good games.
I only know of good games.
The thing that gives me a little bit of hope is the publisher.
Sometimes that matters.
The developer is Positron. The publisher is Square.
What year?
1999 for the PlayStation.
See, I don't know.
Japan only.
See, I don't know.
It is a tube shooter.
What is that?
It's a type of shoot 'em up where the player controls a ship looking down a long tunnel or tube.
Okay, so a rail shooter. We're calling them tube shooters?
No,
just because it's in a tube?
You know how those bonus stages, you're not going to remember this, but this is where my brain went. An Earthworm Jim where you're going like away from the screen and it's like a circle that you can... That's what I'm thinking a tube shooter is.
Oh, God.
This is a game that we're going to be playing for the next 7 days that is likely bad, but Square in 99 is called IS. Internal Section.
Okay. IS : internal section?
Yes. Internal Section. Bad name.
Bad name. What? That's a bad translation. It's probably something cool in Japan.
Yeah.
No, that is it in Japan.
I mean...
You said it's Japan only.
Yeah, it's Japan only.
Crap.
And so find a copy of Internal Section played along with us for the next 7 days.
Can also join us in Discord and become part of our community. We have been growing like crazy in there recently. A lot of new people joining, and I wanted to shout out a couple people just for joining Discord. Welcome to Spartan M, AM Superfly, and Strikus. Thanks for stopping by. Hope your time in Discord is positive. Kenny's also gone today and normally would do this part that I'm about to do, so give me some grace here, everybody.
One breath.
I don't know if I can do one breath, but we'll try. Our show is great because of the people that support us on patreon.com/NGP podcast. And those people are our producers. Adam, Alex, Amarlian, Antonin, Ben, Big Dude Brunt, DH Bowser, Ellis, Fishy, Francesca, Gimbin, Harold, J. Robert, Jake, Jared, Joey Jordan, Justin, Kenny's Beard, Kirk, Savage, Clint, Knick-Knack, Corey, Levi, Maxima, Not Enough Dog, Pedro, Replicated Flame, Sage and Shane, Shauna, Psycho Mantis, Thomas Unbedavable, Siegfried, and Zion. Thank you so much. To our producers as well, Brojum, Daniel, Garlisle, and Super Hypered. And we have some new patrons this week, which is super hype. Mitch, Ben, and Mike, welcome to the fold.
Welcome.
We also have new producers and director. Shauna is a new Sarah is a new producer. Welcome, Sarah. And Turtle upped to producer. Amazing.
Wonderful. No new director. You can also follow us on our social
Then don't
media.
put it.
That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. You can see those links in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode was edited by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play IS Internal Section. Kenny will be back then. Until then, I'm still Red Pikmin.
I'm Red Pikmin.
And this has been a 2-person episode of New Game Plus.